All right, so strap yourselves in, folks,
Bruh.
because today we're diving headfirst into a legal whirlwind, and it's all swirling around Sean Diddy Combs.
A familiar name for sure.
You know him, you've heard the name, you've probably heard the stories, too.
Stories.
We've got a whole stack of articles here, but the one that really caught our eye,
Oh, yeah.
a Forbes piece
Okay.
titled,
Hit me.
"Anonymous Diddy Accuser Will Have to Reveal Name," Judge says.
Oh, that's juicy.
It is.
We're talking anonymous accusations. That's always a tricky area.
Absolutely. And this case, well, let's just say it throws a legal curveball that could have major consequences.
A domino effect.
Yes,
Almost
exactly.
one case impacting a whole bunch of others.
And that's what we're here to untangle today.
Love it.
The power of anonymity, the right to a fair trial, and what happens when those two collide.
Buckle up.
So picture this. We've got a Jane Doe plaintiff.
Jane Doe meaning,
She's suing without revealing her identity.
right, keeping her name out of it.
Exactly. And her claim is that Diddy raped her back in 2004.
Whoa, okay, so we're dealing with some heavy accusations right off the bat.
Yeah, after forcing her to drink and do drugs. It's serious stuff.
And this is where things get really interesting, right?
Go on.
The judge, in this case, Judge Mary Kay Viscasil,
Yeah.
she made a ruling that basically dropped a bomb on this whole situation.
Oh, what did she say?
She said, no more hiding behind Jane Doe.
Really? So even with such a serious accusation,
Even then.
no anonymity.
Nope, this woman, she has to reveal her identity if she wants the case to keep moving forward.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It is.
What was the judge's reasoning for that?
Well, she highlighted two main points.
Okay.
The first one, Diddy's right to defend himself.
Right. Everyone deserves a fair defense.
Exactly. Imagine you're accused of something online by, like, an anonymous user.
Sure.
How do you even start defending yourself if you don't know who's making the claim?
That's true. You wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right. So the judge is applying that same logic here.
Makes sense, but what about the woman's safety?
Yeah, that's the second point the judge addressed.
Okay.
She acknowledged that revealing her identity could put this woman at risk.
Of course. I mean, the fear of retaliation, the public scrutiny, it's a lot to handle.
Absolutely. But she also brought up the public's right to open court proceedings.
Right. Transparency in the legal system.
Exactly. Vice Cassell actually said, and I quote, defendants have a right to defend themselves, and the people have a right to know who is using their courts.
So it's about finding that balance between protecting the accuser and upholding the principles of justice.
You got it, but I can already see how this ruling could create waves, you know?
Oh, yeah. This is going to have ripple effects.
Judges often look for consistency, especially when cases have similar circumstances.
They want to be fair and apply the law evenly.
Right, so this ruling, it could set a precedent.
It could influence how other judges approach similar cases.
Big time, and especially because this isn't Diddy's only legal battle.
Oh, no, this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
You could say that.
We've got a whole stack of articles detailing a web of accusations against him.
It's a lot to unpack.
So give us the lay of the land here. What else is going on?
Well, we need to talk about Tony Busby.
The lawyer.
He's the one representing this Jane Doe.
Right.
But he's also representing a whole bunch of other accusers.
Oh, really?
How many are we talking?
At least 15 separate cases against Diddy.
Wow, and all filed anonymously.
Every single one.
So this Jane Doe case, it could have a domino effect on those other cases, too.
Absolutely. It's a legal crossroads, a major turning point.
To really understand how big this is, though, we need to dive into those arguments for and against anonymity.
Those two sides of the scale.
Exactly. On one side, you've got the accusers,
Especially in cases like sexual assault,
where the fear of retaliation is very real.
public shaming, even re-traumatization. Those are heavy burdens.
They are, especially for someone who's already been through something so difficult.
But then on the other
They
side,
get the accused.
arguing for their right to a fair defense, which is much harder if they don't know who's making the accusations.
Exactly. And then there's the principle of open courts, a fundamental pillar of our legal system.
It's a tricky situation trying to find that balance.
It really is, and it's a debate that's been going on for ages.
A constant back and forth.
You've got state laws protecting rape victim identities, media policies about naming victims, and a whole societal conversation about protecting accusers while ensuring fairness.
It's a lot to consider.
It is.
This Jane Doe case, it's like opening a Pandora's box.
So many issues coming to the surface.
But before we get lost in all the legal details,
Yeah, let's zoom out a bit.
we need to look at the bigger picture.
For the full context.
This isn't just about one anonymous accusation.
And there's a whole lot more going on here.
Give us the rundown. What else are we looking at?
Well, there's the lawsuit filed by Cassie Ventura.
Diddy's ex-girlfriend.
That's right. She accused him of rape and years of abuse.
That one was settled pretty quickly, if I remember
It
correctly.
was, but it seemed to open the floodgates, you know?
Other accusers felt empowered to come forward.
Exactly. And then there were those federal investigations.
Right, back in March, wasn't it?
Yep, federal agents raided Diddy's homes.
Both in Florida and California.
Part of a sex trafficking investigation.
That's Syria.
And just last month, he was arrested in Manhattan.
Wow, this is escalating quickly.
He was indicted by a grand jury.
So we've got the Jane Doe case, a settled lawsuit, federal investigations, and a grand jury indictment.
It's a lot.
Can you break down the accusations for us?
What exactly are these people alleging?
Yeah, what are the claims?
Well, they cover a wide range. Some involve rape, others sexual assault, and there are even allegations of gang rape.
It's hard to even fathom.
The sheer volume of accusations is what's really striking.
You mentioned Tony Busby earlier.
The lawyer.
What's he saying about all this?
He says he represents over 120 individuals
The 120.
who plan to file civil lawsuits against Diddy across multiple states.
That's a staggering number.
It is.
And these allegations span decades, right?
That's right. Some of them go all the way back to the 1990s.
It's a complex and disturbing story, to say the least.
It is.
And before we move on, I want to be clear for our listeners.
Absolutely.
These are allegations. Diddy hasn't been convicted of any crime.
It's important to remember.
We're reporting on what's been made public.
And will continue to do so fairly and impartially.
But the sheer volume and the serious nature of these accusations,
It paints a troubling picture.
this story is far from over.
It's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork here.
We've set the stage.
But this is a deep dive.
We're just getting started.
When we come back
We're going to delve deeper into those specific allegations against Diddy.
and explore the potential impact of this case on the #MeToo movement and beyond.
This is going to get even more complex.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Now we've laid out the legal landscape surrounding Sean Diddy Combs.
All the ins and outs of the legal battles.
And now we need to confront the human side of this story.
the real people at the heart of it all.
Let's talk about the specific allegations,
Yeah, the details of what's been brought to light.
because it's easy to get caught up in the legal back and forth.
All the procedures, the rulings,
But we can't forget that these are serious claims.
and real people's lives are affected.
One of the most disturbing allegations I came across
Yeah, this one was tough to read.
involves a woman who claims she was only 10 years old
10 years old,
when Diddy sexually abused her.
back in 1995.
It's hard to even process something like that.
It's a serious accusation.
A 10-year-old child,
It's a stark reminder of the power imbalances.
especially in situations like these,
Absolutely. And this accusation is part on a larger lawsuit.
filed by Tony Busby.
The lawyer representing a lot of Diddy's accusers.
And this lawsuit, it goes even further,
it alleges that Diddy engaged in sex trafficking.
using his power and influence to coerce young women.
It's a disturbing thought.
It really is, and it underscores the vulnerability.
Of potential victims.
This case involving the 10-year-old.
It's just one among many.
Another lawsuit we have here was filed by a woman who worked as a talent manager.
Oh, so she was in the industry.
She describes a really harrowing encounter.
A party hosted by Diddy in 2015.
Okay, what happened at this party?
According to her lawsuit, Diddy made unwanted sexual advances toward her.
And when she rejected him,
He allegedly became aggressive.
threatening.
This brings up another layer to this story.
Yeah, workplace harassment.
The abuse of power.
Sadly, it's something we see far too often.
Not just in the entertainment industry.
It can happen anywhere.
Her account really highlights the fear.
And intimidation many women face
Especially when confronted with unwanted advances.
from someone in a position of power.
Absolutely, it takes courage to speak out against that.
I can't imagine the strength it takes for these women to come forward.
Especially when they're facing someone as wealthy and influential as Diddy.
The risks are huge.
You're absolutely right. Speaking out against someone with that level of power can be incredibly daunting.
It could ruin their careers.
Their reputations.
The fact that so many women have chosen to come forward despite those risks,
It speaks volumes.
it really does. But it makes you wonder why it took so long for these allegations to surface.
That's a great question.
Was there a culture of silence surrounding Diddy?
It's tough to break free from that kind of culture.
Especially in industries where reputation and connections are everything.
Right, imagine being in that position.
Risking your career, your livelihood.
To speak out against a powerful figure.
A lot of people might have feared they wouldn't be believed.
And let's be honest, there's a long history of women being dismissed or disbelieved when they come forward with these kinds of accusations.
Sadly, that's true, and while the #MeToo movement has brought attention to this issue,
It's a step in the right direction.
we still have a long way to go.
In terms of changing attitudes,
Creating an environment where survivors feel safe and supported.
absolutely. It's an ongoing process.
So how do we move forward from here?
What needs to happen to prevent these abuses and ensure justice is served?
It's a big question.
I think it starts with believing survivors,
Trusting their stories.
creating a culture where they feel empowered to speak out
Without fear of judgment.
or retaliation,
And holding abusers accountable.
no matter their wealth or status.
No one is above the law.
We also need to keep having these difficult conversations,
Shining a light on these issues.
challenging the status quo.
Creating a society where everyone feels safe and respected.
That's the goal.
This case against Diddy, with all its complexity and the number of accusers,
It's a harsh reminder of the work that remains.
to address sexual abuse and hold perpetrators accountable.
We also have to remember the importance of due process.
Making sure all sides have a fair chance.
It's a delicate balance.
Finding that balance between supporting survivors and upholding justice.
It's not easy.
Beyond the legal aspects, there's a human story here.
A story of pain and courage.
The fight for accountability.
And it's still unfolding.
As we continue to follow this case,
You can't forget the human cost.
the impact on the lives of everyone involved.
It's a powerful reminder.
This deep dive into the allegations against Diddy.
A maze of legal complexities.
Disturbing accounts.
Broader societal issues.
It's a lot to process.
It really is, and we've covered a lot of ground.
But there's still much more to unravel.
As the story develops,
We'll be here to break it all down.
any new developments,
We'll bring you the latest information.
stay tuned.
But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
The last piece of the puzzle.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts
What stood out to you the most?
in this complex and disturbing story.
What's resonating with you?
Honestly, for me, it's that judge's decision in the Jane Doe case.
Yeah, the one forcing her to reveal her name.
That could have a huge impact.
Like a chilling effect, almost.
Exactly. Other people who are considering coming forward anonymously,
They might think twice now.
not just in cases against Diddy.
But in any case, where they could be publicly identified.
And that's scary. Because what if people stop reporting these kinds of abuses altogether?
Because they're too afraid of the consequences.
It feels like we'd be taking a giant step backward.
Decades of progress. Gone.
And for the survivors, it's like a double whammy.
They've already been through so much.
And then they have to make this impossible choice.
Protect their identity.
Or seek justice.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. It adds another layer of trauma to an already traumatic experience.
Imagine being in their shoes.
You've experienced something horrific.
And now you might have to relive it all over again in the public eye.
If you choose to pursue legal action.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
And that's why this case has sparked such intense debate.
Strong arguments on both sides.
The principle of open courts. The right to confront your accuser.
Those are cornerstones of our legal system.
But we can't ignore the fears of accusers.
Especially in cases of sexual assault.
The potential fallout if their names become public.
The shame, the judgment.
It's a no-win situation.
It feels that way sometimes.
No matter what the courts decide, someone's rights are going to be impacted.
It's the harsh reality of these types of cases.
There's no easy solution, no perfect answer.
Each case is unique.
With its own set of circumstances.
But the most important thing
Is that we keep having these conversations.
we wrestle with the ethical and legal dilemmas.
And we strive for a system that is both fair and just.
A system that protects the vulnerable.
That's a crucial point.
It's not about finding a one-size-fits-all answer.
But about having those tough conversations.
And constantly seeking a better way forward.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
It's time to reflect.
I want to leave our listeners with a final question to ponder.
Something to chew on.
How do we strike that balance?
Between protecting accusers
And ensuring a fair trial.
while also considering the larger societal implications.
It's a question that's not going away anytime soon.
It'll be debated for years to come.
In courtrooms, in living rooms, everywhere.
And as technology evolves,
And social media keeps changing how we communicate.
the complexities of anonymity and accusation.
They're only going to get more intricate.
It's a lot to think about.
Food for thought, for sure.
This deep dive into the allegations against Diddy,
It's been a journey.
through legal complexities, disturbing accounts.
Broader societal questions.
We've explored a lot today.
But it's clear this story isn't over.
We'll be watching closely,
As things unfold.
bringing you any updates as they emerge.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, keep those minds curious.
And those conversations flowing.
Until next time.